Welcome to the second episode of the Melk and Cookies podcast, where our guest is Jeff Delaney, better known as Fireship, a YouTube content creator who has over 3 million subscribers on his main channel, Fireship, where he really makes funny and concise technological breakdowns of different concepts in tech. His super popular 100-second series takes different topics and breaks them down in 100 seconds. So it's straight to the point, cuts all the fluff. And this is a really, really great episode to have. We got to know a little bit about Fireship, where he's from, how he got started, a little bit about his past, how he lived in a boat. He doesn't do these often, so I'm super grateful that it was cool coming on and letting us get to know him. But if you want to know more about him, all of his links will be down in the description below. He has multiple YouTube accounts beyond Fireship, his main one, Fireship. Honeypot even did an interview and documentary about him. But without further ado, let's get straight into this episode.
Yeah, I mean, like you can use an EMF detector and figure out what kind of, electromagnetic waves are going around your house and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a lot of conspiracies around the 5G towers and things like that.
Exactly.
It's pretty interesting.
I wouldn't say I'm on the conspiracy level thing, but I'm just cautious. Like, I don't want anything weird to happen to my brain, or because it's all brand new, there's not that much studies, like 10 years of using this is going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I figure like eventually something will go wrong, or they'll feel like, oh, these things do actually cause cancer, and now we're all screwed or whatever.
Yeah, it's making the frogs gay. That's
right. Yeah.
that's the chat's going off. So yeah.
Live now, or
yeah, we're live.
I didn't realize we're live. I thought we were just still talking.
No, really.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, hopefully it was a smooth transition. Hopefully you didn't want it to delay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh man, sorry, my bad. But yeah, I was just like the best way to just go live is just like talk and then go live, and it's like, yeah, the most casual way to go about it, I guess.
Yeah, I gotcha. I can't see the chat or anything, so I'm not, which is a good thing. I don't want to see it, but
okay. Yeah, I'll look at chat. I have chat open here. I have a bunch of other links open on like the Twitch stream. But yeah, we're live. What's up, everyone? Welcome in. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Fireship on the Melk and Cookies podcast. Everyone say what up to Fireship. Thank you for coming on and just hanging out and talking and having a chat, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to like get out and do this every once in a while. It's not something I do very often, so yeah, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, so we definitely appreciate it, because the fact that you don't do this often, it's dope that you're willing to be like, you know what, I'll take some time out of my Saturday and go on the stream. So
one of the reasons I did it too is because I think your channel is actually one of the most underrated channels, at least in that tech programming space out there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is pretty awesome.
I need someone to clip that, and I'm gonna frame that. And that's gonna be my new like ringtone every time I get a message. Just Fireship, you're an underrated YouTube channel. Like, okay, sweet. I have the motivation to keep going now.
Yeah, nice.
New highlight clip. Yeah, agreed. Dude, so I was telling my girlfriend, like, yo, I'm gonna have so I have guests over, we're hanging out, and I was like, yeah, this Saturday I'm like, I have this collaboration with this guy I always watch. And like, oh, that's cool. Like, who is he? I'm like, oh, like Fireship will show their channel. They're like, holy crap, like 3 million subscribers, whatever. And they're like, how do you know this guy? And then I couldn't answer. I was like, how did we even like start to be able to just like message each other from time to time, say what's up? And I tried to think back on it. I think the first time we interacted via Twitter was like, I post I'm gonna go live. I'm going to watch one of your videos live. And I think I tagged you on Twitter. I was like, oh, like going live, watching at Fireship video. And I think you just liked it or even retweeted it. And then I'm like, oh, holy crap, you interacted.
Huh. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like it's kind of a small world, especially on Twitter or X. It's like a lot of these people I haven't met in real life, but I feel like I know a lot of these people. And a lot of these people had, way bigger followings than I did when I first got on there, like, 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. I think like the tightness, not even the tightness, sorry, like what you said, like, the small world aspect is so true. I was talking about this like a week ago about like content creation. Like if you want to make content, it's like fairly niche, right? Like not everyone makes content, right? But then it's like you're making content in programming, which is like even more of a niche funnel. And then it's like you want to make specific videos on like, let's say, advanced, I don't know, Go language, and you keep niching it and niching it. So it gets to this point where, like you said, everyone's kind of aware of everyone. Like everyone knows, they've seen each other's videos either like on the home screen or like thumbnails. They recognize people. So it is kind of like we've never like hung out, but it does feel like I've known you for a little bit because I've seen your content, I've seen you push new stuff, I've seen you tweet all this stuff. So it's an interesting kind of feeling, like this online content creator persona type thing.
Right. And like when I started about as niche as you could possibly get doing Angular and Firebase content. And so like, and through doing that, I went to, tech conferences and made a lot of good connections with people also using that kind of tech. And like over the years, my channel's actually gone from going like being super niche to becoming more and more general to the point where it's like talk about any programming language and even like non-code related stuff at this point.
Yeah. I think one of the best things you do, and you've talked about this in the documentary with Honeypot, but I think it's fairly obvious for people who follow your content for a little bit. It's like the 100-second, like the breakdown, those quick like NeoVim in like 100 seconds or whatever, right? Or whatever it is, and it's because you're able to like break down like. I think the concepts can be still pretty niche. Like I think NeoVim is pretty niche in itself, for example. But you're able to like break it down in a way that's consumable for people to just, who are just, interested in the thumbnail or may never have heard NeoVim and want to do it. So you do a really good job of that. But my question is, did you feel it was like a challenge to go from very niche to like a broadened topic?
Yeah, there's definitely a challenge to that on YouTube because you'll see a lot of channels that like, develop a following in one niche and then try to like switch to something else, and then their channel dies immediately. So it has to be something that's done very gradually and very carefully, like, choosing topics that really still appeal to your core audience, but kind of, gradually broaden out. And like the more viral you can be, the better, because then you get, you get your following grows quicker, I guess, or your subscribers grow quicker. But yeah, like my philosophy in general has always been to just like distill content or distill like complex coding topics just down to like the absolute, bare minimum. And that's just kind of how I communicate in general. Like I'm very much an introvert and like try to only say like the absolute necessary amount of words to like get, some kind of to get something across. So it's just kind of the whole content style just fits my personality in real life too.
Yeah, because so I know like you probably very like you think of the way you can express like the topic in a way that people can just like, oh cool, like I get it, like I don't have to watch like a full 10-minute video to understand what NeoVim is, right? You do it in such a way that I can like, as I'm like, I don't know, eating a snack or having a break in between meetings or whatever, quickly watch a video like, oh that's cool, that's interesting, maybe I'll check it out if I want to, or maybe I won't, right? Maybe I just didn't like it, doesn't resonate with me, I can move on easily. But do you feel like when it comes to delivering content in that, like, we can say straight to the point or minimum approach, do you think sometimes people are like, wait, I want more. Now I want a longer video. I actually want you to go into the details. I want you to give me your like technical deep dive into that. Is that something you even think of doing at this point? Or like, you know what, if they want to find out more about it, there's a bunch of different videos, information out there for them.
Yeah, so for like most topics, I would say my goal is to just create awareness for the topic, but I also have the Fireship Pro site where I have full courses that kind of go and do those deep dives and things like that.
Yeah.
That's mostly on, related to web development content, because that's, I would say, my core area of expertise, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like my content style too, I feel like doesn't necessarily scale up very well to like super long videos. I've tried to make 20-minute long videos in the past, and I feel like really like the ideal length is probably right around like 5 to 10 minutes for most videos, or even shorter if it, if needs be.
Yeah. Is it specific for you, like for your channel, you found that 5 to 10 is like a gold sweet spot, or do you think like for the like most of YouTube that's like a gold sweet spot?
No, I would say for me specifically, there's a lot of other like good tutorial channels out there, like Traversy Media is like
Yep.
one that always comes to mind, and he's, his videos are an hour plus long, and I think if you're like just getting into learning to code, my videos are a good place to start, but then it should definitely be combined with other long format content, and probably also nowadays using AI, and most importantly just like building your own projects from scratch and doing hands-on stuff.
For sure, agreed. I wanted to ask you, because I don't think you briefly talked about this in the Honeypot interview, but I kind of want to get more of the story of like, how did, like, before Fireship was ever a thing, when you were Jeff working, how did you get into tech? Like, what was your intro? I know, you went to school for computer science, correct?
No, I didn't.
Oh, so you didn't?
Yeah. So if we go all the way back, so
Yeah.
originally, so I finished high school and like I was pretty rebellious in high school. Like I struggled with my last 2 years, like had a bad breakup with a girlfriend, and just like kind of went off the rails for a couple of years.
Classic,
yeah.
Man. All right.
And then so I get to be about say 18 years old, and I think I kind of woke up at that point and realized I got to start getting my life together and stuff. And so I went to Arizona State University, and at that point I thought I wanted to be a pilot, so I got a pilot's license and was doing that for a while. And
wait, you have a pilot's license right now?
I do. I haven't used it in probably like a decade, but I do.
That's crazy.
So flying's fun. Flying's an awesome activity, but I just decided it wasn't what I wanted to do as a career. And then I kind of just like, I went to school for business, just really not, something very general. And then eventually as I started working an entry-level job, I was working for a big Fortune 500 company, and they had a pretty good path to like transition into tech if you wanted to go down that path. So I eventually got a job there doing like building like internal tools with Java and Oracle database and stuff. And also just like was learning PHP and web development on the side as well. So it all kind of just, eventually I figured out like through doing that that's what I really wanted to do, and sort of just put all my efforts into, code and side projects and stuff like that.
So you have like a undergrad in something completely different, right? And then just so happens you got a job like doing business stuff at a company, and internally they're like, hey, yeah, like if you want to do like a different, I don't know, transition or work at a different department, we can do this. So it's like an internal transfer, right? Which has like less barrier to entry than, let's say, like an external candidate who wants that job.
Right. So I feel like it's probably a pretty rare situation for most companies to do that. But this is like an education company. So you, by doing like courses through that company, there's, they just kind of like, it was part of their culture to like create those opportunities like for existing employees within that company.
So I didn't know that. I thought you actually went to school for computer science, but yeah, that's good. I mean,
if I could go back, I would get a computer science degree. I think it's definitely worth it, especially like in this bad job market. You're really seeing how the computer science degree is valuable. But
do you think it's valuable only because it's like something to have on your resume that bypasses like a filtering screen, or do you think it's beneficial because of the stuff you actually learn via that degree?
What I think a degree, and not just like computer science, but anything, it's not so much the content you learn, but it's really just like a proxy for an employer to know that you're not like a complete idiot. Because like to get into college, you have to, do your SATs and go through like jump through all these hoops and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a proxy to know that, you're at least kind of like in that upper, 50% or 20% or whatever, of a society that can actually do a 9-to-5 job without, collapsing or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm from Canada, and we actually don't have like the SATs or like a concept like that. We never have to write like this entry exam or something like that has like a score. You kind of have like a path. It's like high school, and then high school you go to like university or college or whatever you want. So that's crazy that.
So how do they in Canada? How do they like for exclusive schools or like for? Yeah. How's it competitive, I guess?
Yeah, it's actually, so it is competitive. A lot of Canadians try to go to like to different schools, and the way to like separate themselves is, I think if you want to go to school in the United States, you do have to take the SATs. Like even as a Canadian, I think there's like a program there. But on like the Ivy League schools within Canada, what it basically comes down to is like you create this like application form, which is like all your grades, your high school, like so there's a ranking of like each high school, like in every province, all your extracurricular stuff. So they basically look for like how hard have you tried in high school? Like, are you like an athlete? Are you like leader of the chess club? Do you have good grades? Do your teachers vouch for you? Are you volunteering? Are you saving cats? You know, like all this stuff. And then they basically accept you. So there's probably some shenanigans of like, oh, you know, my dad went golfing with you and, you know, all this stuff that can probably squeeze your way in. But that's the system in Canada.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So that's how you started with tech, but you just said like a little bit ago, like your bread and butter, you'd say, is like web dev, and obviously when you started, you had Firebase and worked with Angular. So how'd you go from like, you know, working with PHP and Java at this Fortune 500 company to like getting introduced to the front end world or the web dev world?
Yeah, so that's probably the next part of the story. So working for this company actually kind of sucked. Eventually, after a few years of doing that, I realized like I'm just not super well suited for 9-to-5 job, and it was very much, you know, corporate, very like boring corporate sort of situation in a cubicle and all that stuff.
Nice.
And so I was working on various side projects, and I was getting really into like Ruby on Rails at this point.
Oh,
and
nice.
Started doing some freelance consulting stuff on the side for that. And this job was the kind of job where you could do your work for like a few hours a day and just like have, you know, the rest of the day to do kind of whatever. So I was kind of working on that at this job, and eventually they didn't really like that. So I ended up getting fired from that job. And at that point I had no choice, and I had to pretty much go like full time, you know, just freelancer for a while.
Yeah.
And I never really expected to do it for as long as I have been doing it now, but it was just supposed to be like a temporary thing until I, you know, figured out the next job or whatever. But yeah, I did that for like 5, I think. Yeah, it would have been like probably like 7 years, I guess, before I started the Fireship channel, roughly.
Oh, so that's interesting. So, okay, you were kind of like you weren't forced into freelance, but obviously I think you didn't like the 9-to-5 grind. And by the way, what I'm typing here, I'm just typing on like Excalibur, just kind of like notes and stuff or whatever. But okay. So you didn't like the 9-to-5 grind. You didn't like the cubicle, you know, lifestyle. And then obviously you got fired, and then you were forced to freelance, right? At that time, did you have like a ton of responsibility? Because like I know like for people who have families and stuff, when they get fired and forced to freelance, that's like incredibly scary. But like the younger you are, obviously when you maybe you don't have kids, you don't have like all this debt to pay, you're like, okay, like it sucks, but I can kind of maybe find a way to find a few clients here and there. Like what position were you in life when this occurred to you?
So yeah, I was young and had basically no responsibilities.
Hell yeah.
This will be another interesting part too. So yeah, very little responsibility. And so what we did is we were living in this house, and we decided to move to California, and we bought a sailboat there. And so we lived on this little sailboat for like a few years, and ended up sailing down to Mexico and all over the place, which was like one of the coolest experiences of my life. But yeah, we lived like super minimal, even though I was freelancing, but really not making very much money.
Yeah.
Kind of just enough to scrape by. But eventually things got better. Like as I continue doing that, I think the more you can be self-employed, usually if you continue growing your business, you know, your income sort of like compounds faster as the years go by. But yeah, in the early days we were living on a sailboat, like just barely scraping by. But yeah, it was definitely awesome. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
That's incredible. Because so you touched on that like in a documentary, and I'll keep talking about that documentary, but I mean, this is already better than a documentary in my opinion. Because you said at the end, like the ultimate dream would like get like a catamaran and like sail across the world. And I'm like, oh, like he must like boats. That was kind of my idea. I'm like, he must really like sailing, maybe like fishing, whatever. But the fact that you like lived on a you got fired, right, and then you lived on a sailboat.
Yeah, it was basically just like, fuck it. Like I really have nothing to lose at this point. I'm gonna go do this. And like, we just actually did it. And luckily my wife was on board and like supportive, and she was working too at that time. So yeah, it somehow worked out. Like looking back on it, I can't believe it ever worked, but
yeah,
we spent pretty much every last dollar we had on this sailboat too. So it was like financially, it was like very, very sketchy, but
dude, that's how you know she's a keeper. When you come up to her, be like, hey babe, bad news, got fired, but idea, there's an ad on Craigslist for a sailboat, are you down to go live there?
Right. Well, actually, what makes it even more of a keeper is that she actually had the idea originally. Like she wanted to
that's
go out
crazy
and live on a boat. So yeah,
that's crazy, man. Someone said in chat, like you did the opposite of what you were initially going to do. You're supposed to be a pilot, and then you went from pilot to a boat to web dev. Like,
right. Yeah. Looking back at it, pilot's a great career. Like you make 200K. Like, yeah, I'd be making solid 200K a year as like a captain for American Airlines or something, you know?
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Okay, again, I was talking to my friend who also said he wanted to be a pilot, which I did not know. And then we looked at like pilot salaries in Canada versus United States. So take this in. The first year you're a pilot in Canada, you're making $56,000. The first year you're a pilot in the United States, you're making anywhere from $96,000 to like $110,000. Like, can you believe that difference?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's usually like pilots, they don't make much when they first initially get into like being a commercial pilot. And then once you get your hours and become like an airline captain is like when the really good salaries hit.
Yeah.
And that takes usually like 5 to 10 years, I think, for most people.
Yeah. And but getting the license is expensive too, right? Like getting a commercial pilot license, not just like any, obviously degrees are expensive and et cetera, but a pilot license, like that's like up there in terms of like investment, is it not? Like over 100
yeah
grand?
It's at least 100 grand just for your hours out of pocket. A lot of people do things like become flight instructors to get hours while they're getting paid at least something, or they like share planes to get hours together and stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, this story is awesome. So you were like quote unquote freelancing, but you're mainly just enjoying your life with your partner on a sailboat.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. And it's not all glamorous. Like the boat was like a $20,000 like very old boat built in like 1977. So there's a lot of work in that lifestyle too. Like when you live on the boat, like if I had to go up, like if I wanted to take a ship, basically I'd have to get off the boat, like walk up to this marina and go up there and like shower in a public shower and stuff.
Hell yeah.
It's not a very comfortable lifestyle, but there's a lot of rewards to it too when you actually get like out and sail and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure like that's a core memory now in your life with you and your wife. Like that's like a memory you guys can be like when you're way older. Like, do you remember that time we spent like 3 years just living in a sailboat, and you guys are gonna be laughing about it as you recline in your comfortable leather chairs and stuff. It's gonna be like, yeah, that was crazy that we did that. Kind of how you're reflecting on it now. You're like, damn, thinking back, I don't know how the fuck I pulled that off, but I did.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we always talk about, getting another boat. But the reality with kids, we have 3 kids, all pretty young. So it's really hard to manage kids on a boat from what I've learned. So
we
may be able to do that at some point, but it's a lot harder.
Yeah. You're gonna have to wait till all 3 of them move out. You're in your golden years and be like, you know what? Let's get that boat again. Let's get that boat again.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Just sail off into the sunset and just kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Sail off into the sun, and you can call it Fireship. You can actually call the boat the Fireship or something.
That's true. Yeah, the first boat was named Starfire.
Okay.
I didn't give it that name. That's the name it had before. But
man, the word fire just follows you from enjoying Fire Base, making a YouTube channel called Fireship, to your first boat, Fire.
It does. I don't quite understand why that is, but yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so it's cool that how you said you were like kind of rebellious in high school, last couple of years, whatever, you were just kind of not going through the traditional route, and then you got frustrated with the 9 to 5, also realized like maybe that's not for you. How did you come to that realization? Because in high school when you're rebellious, people just dub you as like, oh, that's like a bad kid, or like, oh, that kid is like XYZ, right? But when you're older and like the 9 to 5 just isn't for you, that's a whole different label. People don't just label you like, oh, that's a misfit adult, or like, that's a XYZ. It's like, no, I just don't want to do the 9 to 5. I want to go and do my own thing. How did you actually come to that conclusion? Like, what was it about the 9 to 5 that you're just like, nah, fuck this. I need a boat. I need to get out of here.
Right. So I guess like with the 9 to 5, I was always a good, like, just to clarify, I was always a good employee and like never like a disciplinary problem or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like always a hard worker, like high performer and stuff.
Yep.
But for me, it was like, I'd always just have these kind of like existential thoughts, like sitting there, like, what am I doing with my life? Just sitting in this cubicle.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to like strap on a set of balls and actually do something about it. Or actually, I didn't even really do that. I kind of was, forced into it. So it was like, yeah, it was mostly just, they're kind of like doing it because you need the money just to survive and stuff. And so I'm just kind of fortunate that it kind of, something happened to make things happen for me, I guess.
That's funny because like a lot of times it's things happen for a reason. I don't know how much you believe in like karma or things are meant to be. We don't even need to talk about that. But like at the time, getting fired sucks ass. Regardless of if you love your job or hate your job, it's just not a great feel. No one's like, yes, I got fired. Everyone's like, fuck, that sucks.
Right.
Oh wait, sorry. Can you please amp up his volume a little bit? It's much quieter than you. Oh yeah, for sure. Sorry, I didn't know that. I just amped your volume up a little bit, Jeff.
Yeah.
But then like obviously like you just said, it worked out because it was the thing that pushed you to like go for it. And like speaking very candidly, like I feel that existential crisis all the time too. It's like, I work for Twitch and I enjoy working for Twitch, right? Like I enjoy it. I think anytime I have an opportunity to work like a big tech company, I'm going to enjoy it, whether it's Google, Netflix, OnlyFans, whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like I'm only going to be known as what? If I were to like cease to exist tomorrow, what are they going to talk about me? Oh, like he was a great employee at Twitch. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I just feel there's more to it for me than that. But I think it's just scary and I don't have the balls to kind of go with the alternative because it's like not a guarantee. It's not cozy, it's not comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Twitch is probably a much better company to work for than the company I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the tech companies like Google, really any big tech company this nowadays is going to be pretty sweet place to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of, like I've struggled with that my whole life, is just trying to figure out, what my purpose is, like what am I actually doing here kind of thing. Like I still always think about that existential kind of stuff. So
yeah.
I don't think you ever really figure it out. Like there's a good quote, like the purpose in life is just to fart around and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I think that's like Kurt Vonnegut or something.
That's a very true one.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, it is very true.
But certain farts are way better. Like look at like farts like Elon Musk as a fart, or other people like, very like big philosophers or even like creators and people who've done groundbreaking work. Like they are now like legendary farts, we've always talked about them and stuff. So I don't know, to me it's like I want that, but like is it even possible to achieve it? So am I setting myself up for failure because like I'm like, okay, I gotta work hard to like be this memorable individual, or like find my greater purpose in life, but maybe that's just like not in the scope for me, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to do, but I'm like going against the grain of it. So it's these like I don't even know how we got into this philosophical conversation, but I could talk about this all day. But yeah, it's something that I struggle with like all the time in figuring out what works for me and what doesn't.
Yeah, well, I've seen that kind of play out with my channel too. Like there's been times where I've been like working super hard and just like almost obsessively with the channel and trying to grow it or take it to the next step, and then I eventually just hit like massive burnout.
Yeah,
and won't make a video for 2 months. And I think when you try too hard, a lot of times it's counterproductive. Like there are times when you just need to like chill out and like just have fun. And if you're not having fun with what you're doing, it's really hard to do something successful.
How okay, so that's a pretty good segue of something I really want to discuss with you, because I know I know you've dealt with it before, and that's content burnout, right? And I know like stuff happens in personal lives and stuff that, like, you know, content takes a back seat. But when it comes to like what you just said about like focusing on a mission for your content, like I want my YouTube channel to grow by, let's say, like 50,000 subscribers in 2 months, whatever. I'm just saying arbitrary numbers, right? And then like you go through, like you look at your dashboard metrics 24/7. You're finding patterns on your thumbnails. What do people click? Is it a blue sky? Is it not blue sky? You know, you're going through all these like meticulous details. And like you said, like sometimes it doesn't work out, and then what happens? You get burnt out. Because my personal definition of burnout is when you put effort and don't get the reward for that effort, right? Because if you're to put all that work into like growing the channel until you did hit that 50K, I think you'd be less likely to feel burnt out. But when you put all that effort, you put all that stress on yourself, and it doesn't work out, then I think you do get burnt out. Or at least for me, that's how I feel. Because if I was like rolling all the time, if I was hitting new milestones every week, every month, I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. Like, this is where it's at. But that's not the reality of it. And then I get burnt out because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps to always be growing. Like, I don't think anyone ever wants to be like on that downward trajectory. So that's definitely part of it. I think for me too, like sometimes like I just get to a point, like there's definitely highs and lows where when I'm like on the very tip of the high and I feel like I can just like pump out content day after day, eventually something changes, and then I just quickly go down to like this low where I feel like I just can't produce anything for whatever reason. And I've been doing like my channel, I've been operating pretty much is a one-man show from the beginning. I have worked with editors and like freelancers in the past and stuff, but one thing I'm trying to do now is build a team, like get a good editor. So if there's anyone out there watching this that thinks they can edit my video and understands code, like that would be awesome. So reach out. But that's kind of like where I feel like my next step is building a team and, you know, kind of see where we can take the channel with like additional help, I guess.
So I'm trying to think of like how I want to put this, because so you come up with your own ideas. Obviously you record everything yourself. We've seen your setup. I actually have a picture here. You can't see it, or if you look at my stream, it's up right now. This is one of my favorite pictures of like all time, and I tweeted about it. It's during the honeypot. You're just like sitting in front of like your, I would say, minimalistic desk with like your Mac on the carpet floor, and then I quote tweeted saying like 3 million subscriber like YouTube channel or whatever, and like it's extremely funny that like this setup was like what you do and what you kind of create this phenomenal content you make. And so you edit everything yourself, and you've done it, you got to this point. Do you think, like, I guess devil's advocate question is like, do you think getting the team is going to be the right step to get you to that next level, whatever that level is? Or is it just kind of like you want to allocate the time away from editing to focus on different aspects of your life and of the channel?
Well, I think the channel, I think like a good YouTube channel always needs to evolve. If you look at like the biggest channels, they usually aren't doing the same thing over and over again. They're, you know, kind of pushing things forward and like creating, I don't know, just evolving their content over time.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this point, I've kind of done everything I can do is just like a one-man show, evolving the content. So I definitely would, you know, I want to continue being like the creative force behind it, but just take some weight off my shoulders to like, you know, do some of the other things that can be outsourced. Yeah. I'm also just a really bad manager too. So it's like, I'm not good at managing people. So that's kind of what I'm working on, is trying to overcome that deficiency, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone in chat just asked me if you will ever join Twitch, not full-time, but as a hobby. And we were talking about this offline. But yeah, I don't know if you want to answer that. Just say your thoughts on like streaming, if it's for you or not. I don't know.
I've kind of decided that streaming is not really my thing. I'm, like I said before, I'm definitely an introvert, and just sitting here kind of like riffing for hours on end is just not, I don't think would be very entertaining or interesting for anyone.
And I say this in no offense, I genuinely think coming to that conclusion is completely correct. because like we were talking about this before, man, like how now when you have to go streaming, you have to like go streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and on that same topic, you know, like I create, you know, I go live, I make long form videos on YouTube, and I have to make tweets, and it's like I'm bad at all of them, right? Like I'm bad at all of them, but I'm slightly better at one than the others, right? So it's like I kind of have to pick and choose what's naturally fitting for my skills. Like I would say I'm more extroverted, right? I think I can talk more. I would say like sometimes I'm an introvert, but overall I'd say I'm more extroverted, and I think that's why I just enjoy streaming more than kind of going in the lair, cooking up a video idea, cutting it up and posting it, right? Like those are skills like I kind of have to like adjust with like these dials, but for me naturally like streaming is much more, I don't know, like natural, like least, like path of least resistance, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. Like when I go on streams like this, it takes a lot of my energy, and it's like when I watch, say, the Primogen, like he's got, you know, so much energy. I feel like I'm just kind of the opposite. Personality wise, like I'm like at a party, like the guy that just wants to kind of sit in the corner and not talk to anybody, you know?
Yeah, I think it is very like socially exhausting for both types of people, like introvert and non and like extroverts, when you go off, and especially at the level that Prime does. And have you met Prime in person? I think you guys have, right?
Yeah, we met in person, and actually the last time I was on Twitch was on his stream, which was probably like a year ago, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah. So obviously when he has a natural energy, I would say, you know, like off stream and on stream, he's like pretty similar. Like I think on stream he's like more funnier, more clever, like rips off the chat a bit more, but he's always just high energy. Whereas I think for others that may not be the case. They may have like, okay, cameras on, let's you know, let's crank everything up and get it to a high deliverable point. So again, just another example of like a natural fit for a natural form of creating content.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, it's like I'm mostly just leveraging my strengths, and I think that, you know, creating these short form videos, like figuring out like what, you know, just distilling the content, distilling complex content, distilling complex topics like down is what I'm best at.
Yeah, yeah. How overwhelming, if at all, is content creation for you, right? Because it looks like you obviously know exactly what you're doing. You have like the pulse on the game. I truly think you're very good at hitting trends when it's a good time to hit them. Like you don't hit trends when they've already died out. You hit them like on this like up curve, right? It's like you hit them, everyone's talking about them, and then you just higher and higher and higher. But like with all that being said, how overwhelming is content creation for you, right? Like is it something that can keep you up at night if, you know, you drop a video, it's a 10 out of 10 after you put, let's say, like, I don't know, let's 15 hours into creating the video from start to end? Is it something that like overtakes and can ruin your day? Or how do you manage the content creation, like reward style, like a video, the views, the metrics, the people hating on you, the people loving on you?
Yeah, at this point, I really don't care.
Nice.
Like if I have a bad video, I don't care, really don't care about negative comments or anything like that. In fact, I've like almost never removed comments from my channel, with like, you know, some rare exceptions where it's just like something egregious, but I don't mind the criticism or anything like that. And yeah, really, like for the most part, like at this point, I'm just doing it because I'm having fun doing it. And so I wouldn't say it's that overwhelming. Like it is kind of like sometimes there's like a sense of urgency when there is a certain trend that I want to get a video out on. Because my content style is like I can't just jump on a stream and, you know, do it. There's like at least 8 hours or more of like production time to get the video done start to finish.
That's crazy. So the expectation part is interesting. Do you think there's an expectation on you and your channel when there is like a newly released topic on, let's say, AI or a new like JavaScript framework or something like that, and you have to kind of rush and readjust your schedule to get that video out there?
Somewhat. Like, yeah, I wouldn't say it interferes that much. Like there's definitely been a lot of topics where I could have made a video that I just kind of let pass because I just decided I didn't want to make the video or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there can be pressure when there's like a certain topic, but I'd say that's pretty rare for the most part at this point.
Okay. So you kind of just go with the flow, whatever you feel like making, you kind of set it up. You kind of briefly just said it, like for your videos, it's roughly, let's say, like 8 hours to make. So is that 8 hours from like start to finish before upload, or like 8 hours to create and then you have some time set to upload whenever you feel comfortable?
I would say about 8 hours if it's like a 3 or 4 minute video, like a code report type video. Um, those, like on those, I kind of don't spend as much time like polishing the editing and stuff like that. So actually the 100-second videos probably take longer than the code reports do to make. And then if I'm doing a longer video, that obviously is going to take more time, but
for the
yeah, there's,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if there's like a trending topic that I want to make a video on, I can usually like wake up at 5 in the morning and have it done by noon or so.
Okay. That's including edits, like everything done from 5 a.m. to noon, like good to go.
Yep. Yeah, that's everything. So I'll like I'll like write some notes. Usually I might do some research like the day before, but I'll write some notes and then record the voiceover, then do the editing on top of that. And then just, throw it up there and hit publish.
That's crazy. And what about your thumbnails? Because one thing about your channel, and whether it's the Fireship channel, even the Beyond Fireship channel, your icon, like your thumbnails are iconic. And they're so iconic because everyone knows it's a Fireship video, but another level of knowing how iconic it is because people start to copy this style. And I'm sure you've seen it. Like people in tech have basically taken this style of thumbnail creation that's very like, blackish background, the big bold text with different colors and like one image. Like people have started to use that. Like how did you come up with your thumbnails, and like how long does it take you to create one of them?
They usually don't take long to create. Like usually, like sometimes they'll take like 2 minutes to create where everything just falls into place perfectly, and then other times I might have to like kind of like mess around and spend like a half hour or something. But
half hour max
on a thumbnail. Yeah, I mean, because they're so simple. Like the thumbnails are just, and that's actually the reason I kind of fell into this style, is because if you look at some of my old videos, the thumbnails were a lot more complex. So for me, it was actually a convenience thing to just go with simplicity, but it actually turns out simplicity is a lot more clickable too. On
my thumbnail, the thumbnail I made, it took me like the one I sent for you, the Fireship one, the collab one. That one easily took me like 2+ hours. And if you look at like my drafts, there's like 8 different versions of me and you, just you. I sent you like 2 versions of it. So damn, maybe I'm overcomplicating it because your thumbnails are like half an hour is like a dream to get something so clean looking.
This might be interesting. Can I share my screen on here?
Let's
not possible.
Can you? Actually, I have no idea.
Because I have this like Figma board with all my past thumbnails and stuff. It's kind of interesting. It's like looks like total chaos, but it would give you some insight into how I actually do my thumbnails.
Can you screenshot it and send it to me maybe on like Twitter DM, and I can like open it up? Because I don't think you can share screen via ping.
Okay. It's not a big deal. I think. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But it's just like basically I have this Figma board with like tons of thumbnails on it that just like kind of goes down forever. There's probably like 200 thumbnails on there, and they just kind of like evolve over time. Yeah,
I have this. I use Canva, and it's just like every thumbnail I've made, it's just like this running like, I guess like draft or something. I don't know, of all the different like iterations, the final product, like what happens if one flop. Do you switch your thumbnails ever? Like, or is it like when you made one thumbnail and you upload it, that's it, you don't touch it?
I might do that occasionally if there's. I feel like it's like a really bad performing video, I might try and go and change the thumbnail. I've done that a couple times anyway. But there's supposed to be a new A/B feature, which I haven't gotten access to, where you can upload like multiple thumbnails and YouTube will like figure out which one's best. Yeah, I saw that. I think Mr. Beast was like the first person who got access to it or something, or like YouTube made it for Mr. Beast. And I saw like someone, maybe like a news outlet or something, talk about like Mr. Beast is like attempted to try out new thumbnails and stuff, and like he's like trying different background colors or like different like centerpiece images. So I want that feature as well. I think that'd be super awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and as far as like people copying my style, that's like gone on for quite a long time, but it's one thing when you see that happen, it's actually a really good thing because that means you're doing something right. And if you like continue grinding and like just being the best at what you do, there's no like a copycat really has no chance at, you know, like really making a dent in what you've done.
Yeah. Are you naturally a competitive person?
Um, somewhat, yeah. I would say I'm like fairly competitive,
Yeah. Um,
but
did you have like any? Did you play sports at all, like when you were growing up, or do you still play any kind of sports?
yeah, like growing up, I played basketball. That was my favorite sport.
Nice.
When I got to like high school, I didn't become tall enough to really ever be super competitive at that point. But
Yeah.
yeah, mostly basketball. I also did like kickboxing and things like that in high school. But
Oh, sick. Hell yeah. I do. I train like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I did wrestling, so I never really got into like the
yeah,
striking portion because I think I didn't like getting hit in the head at all. But when it comes to like grappling and like that, I love that stuff. Like I was actually just gonna say that if you've never tried Jiu-Jitsu, I definitely recommend it.
yeah, yeah. Like I don't do it anymore, but I have my kids in jujitsu and stuff.
No
So
way. That's sick. That is
yeah,
sick, dude. Your kids are gonna be lethal.
yeah, yeah. Maybe yeah. It's pretty cool. Like it's definitely a good activity, and they have fun with it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, dude, I wish I started jiu-jitsu when I was younger. I think my sister, she put me in a course when I was like 13, and I was doing it for like 2 weeks, and I was like, I don't really like this. It's kind of weird because I was like the youngest guy in like an adult class, so I was like, I don't know, this is kind of strange. But like when I got older, I was like, damn, like if only I stayed doing jiu-jitsu, like I'd be just so much better because it would be like 13 years 14 years of doing jiu-jitsu, and whenever you do something for that long, you'll obviously be like really good at it, right?
Right.
So it's one of the regrets I have of like quitting it, but alas, I'm
Yeah.
back in it now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
There's
reason,
another tech YouTuber. I don't know if you know Dorian Develops.
yeah, yeah,
He's into jujitsu.
yeah, Dorian's awesome. His video actually, how jiu-jitsu changed his life. That was a really that was the first video I saw of Dorian. I'm pulling it up right here. Dorian develops. Yeah, jiu-jitsu saved my
Yeah.
life but destroyed my body.
Yeah, that was a good video. And what's funny is he is mostly tech content, and that I think
Yeah.
that video like blew up, right?
Yeah, it's he was I actually talked to him like because I saw him like, wait, you do jiu-jitsu? So as like a jiu-jitsu head, I just DM people. I'm like, yo, what? And he was like, yeah, dude, I had no idea. I just posted this video. I think he was telling me his channel was like in a bit of a rut. Like he couldn't really find like a groove to catch momentum. And this one like got like over 1 million views. And he's like,
Huh.
I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works. I don't care anymore. And I'm like, dude, it was a
Yeah.
phenomenal
It,
video.
yeah, he's got another underrated channel. It's like very genuine,
Yeah,
and he's like traveling with his family and stuff now too, which is pretty cool.
it is
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, to see that like his video, like I just typed it in, and there's so many like jujitsu guys, not even in tech, like reacting to it, like big jujitsu players too, like react. That's so awesome. Like someone from our
yeah,
neck
so,
of the woods, right? Like how we were talking in the beginning, like the tech content, to like basically go way out of our circle, like touch a whole different like I don't know
right.
avenue of people is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, but the reason why I asked about the competitive stuff and like the sports, because from what I know, typically people who are competitive or who have like more of a competitive mindset have done like sports or grew up doing sports and always obviously want to win, right? They want to win, they want to score the most. So it makes sense that like you grew up playing basketball and like all the other sports you said, and that kind of translated to your mentality when it comes to like content creating or specifically to what you said, handling like copycats and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one thing, like I realized I was competitive. I think when I was probably in grade school, and there's this, I could play a little bit of guitar, but then I had this friend that also learned to play the guitar, and he got like way better than me, and that like
Whoa.
just made me like almost angry. And so like that whole summer, I spent learning the guitar, and like by the time school started back up the next year, I was like way better than him.
You schooled
So
him?
it was pretty much, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Um,
So,
that's
yeah, it depends on the situation. Like some situations I can get really competitive, and other times I'm just like, I'll just like shut down and just not care whatsoever.
yeah. Um, how? So I have a couple. I have like three of your channels open about the Jeff Delaney one. I have Beyond Fireship and Fireship. How do you like? obviously Fireship is like your main channel, right? I think that's safe to say. Beyond Fireship is maybe like your secondary channel. You can just kind of put other types of video, and then Jeff Delaney is like, you haven't posted on that for years. So I'm just saying that because on paper it's still a YouTube channel you own. How do you like come up like creatively with like the scripts of your YouTube videos? Because another thing that's pretty unique with your content is you're able to like insert jokes or memes that are like relevant today that get people to like relate to the video more, right? Like you're saying jokes that people have seen, like, oh my God, that's so funny, I just saw a meme about that. Like, how are you able to create these kind of, you know, scripts that couple the video topics so well?
I don't know. It's a good question. You know, like existing memes and programming really help out. Like, you know, like a lot of the memes aren't necessarily original, but a lot of my jokes, I think, are just like dry humor, kind of saying like ridiculous stuff. Is like, as I'm basically recording the video, like sometimes I'll just think of ridiculous stuff and just, you know, throw it in the script or whatever. Like, it's usually not written out in advance. It just kind of comes to me as I'm going along. But really it's kind of like built on the shoulders of like existing, you know, programming memes and like kind of inside humor that everyone knows, like whatever, you know, like everyone uses Stack Overflow instead of actually writing code like that. Just, you know, stuff like that.
How do you ever like laugh at your own stuff? Like when you're writing it, when you're like writing the script and you say something ridiculous, do you ever like make yourself laugh?
I do. And that's actually a good indicator that I should keep it in the video. And actually I have to like tone it down a lot, because a lot of the things I laugh at are like pretty dark and like a little adult oriented, I guess. So I cut a lot of stuff out that I'm like, man, I wish I could use this joke, but it's just like, it's going to be too offensive to someone.
You gotta do beyond Fireship, like the you know, the nighttime
hardcore Fireship.
Yeah, hardcore Fireship, exactly. Fireship uncensored. That's a good one. Yeah,
there you go.
That's cool. So yeah, I think, but like someone just said in chat, like I've never heard this term before, but it makes sense. Like memeology. Like, do you have to like put in time to like keep up with memes? Because like you may have jokes in your head, but like maybe they're only funny to you or like to a very small group of audience, right? How do you like, do you have to keep up with memes? Do you have like a section in your calendar where it's like, okay, gotta study memes right now? Like how do you keep up? How do you do such a good job keeping up with that?
I do like keep up with memes. Like there's certain just Twitter accounts like that post mindless memes and stuff like that. And like, keeping up. Really, I don't have a good answer, I guess. I just kind of look random places and kind of keep up on it. But a lot of it's kind of existing stuff. And I think, you know, a lot of jokes get repeated and things like that. But it's, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one to do because like, I think memes right now is such a core part of like any subgroup, any culture, or whatever. Just like, you know, the wave of things on the internet. But the problem is there's so many of them, and some memes only talk to like very particular groups of people, whereas others are more broad. Other people can laugh at them, and so striking that balance and keeping up with them is just such a like daunting task for me. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what this is supposed to mean, but like everyone's laughing about it, so I kind of feel dumb. I'm like, am I supposed to laugh? I don't get it, right? So it's just like, damn, there's just such a like ever-changing world. It's kind of similar to tech. There's shit always popping off. Like in your latest video about the frameworks, the 15 new frameworks, right? It's just constantly changing. So it's like a job in itself to just keep up with it.
Yeah. Like memes are so effective is because like they convey a really, in a lot of cases, like complex subjects in a more simplified way. And I think that's, it kind of just fits in with my channel perfectly as far as like trying to simplify things. Yeah.
So would you say like that's kind of like the MO of your channel? Like if I were to like strip everything down, like even like going beyond the memes, like the goal of Fireship from like a content deliverable is like the simplest way to explain complex topics to people, to a broad audience.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best motto you could come up with. I've always looked at it as trying to be educational first, and then trying to be like funny second. So really it's education first, being funny second, I guess.
Interesting. And how did you translate that? Because like, you know, you do offer like the paid courses on your pro service. How do you kind of shift that gear, shift that switch from like, okay, I'm no longer making a education plus funny humor Fireship piece of content for like a broader audience, but I have to now kind of like niche down to go pure education for people who have like, you know, subscribed and want to have and like paid essentially for a service where they'll learn more technical concepts. Like, how do you make that mental shift?
So like before I started doing, like really when the channel first started, it was really purely educational. There's very few like jokes or anything like that in the video. So I think it's really kind of just sticking to like that older content format, I guess you could say, where it's just, you know, strictly going through code, trying to solve problems and build stuff. And like in the courses, I do like throw in jokes and stuff when they come up and memes like and stuff like that. But they're definitely like few and far between compared to that YouTube content.
Yeah, because that's not the goal of them, right? The goal is to like literally teach people and give them like more technical knowledge of like whatever the course is that they purchased, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so like after each module in the course too, you can take a quiz, and if you get the right question or the right answer on that quiz, it'll show you a meme based on that module.
Nice.
But what I found is like doing that for every single module in a course, which there's usually like 20 or 30 videos in a course, is it's hard to do that for every single one. But
did I mean lax? Let's see. Yeah, I did mean lax. You're right. Sorry. Chat's catching my... I can't type. I can barely read. I can barely type. So Neatcode, we got Neatcode.io. Big shout to Neatcode. Also, huge homie of the channel. Big content creator. He's asking, do you think Angular will make a comeback? I don't know if he's saying that seriously or not, but yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question. You started with Angular back in the OG days of your channel. Right. So do you think it's going to make a comeback?
I mean, they definitely got some solid features, and they're investing a lot in really like modernizing the framework and getting it more aligned with like what modern developers are looking for. Like they've implemented signals and have gotten rid of a lot of the boilerplate and just stuff like that. I haven't had enough time to really mess around with Angular. I've been really focused primarily on Svelte and React stuff recently. But as far as like a full comeback where it overtakes React and becomes the most popular framework, I think that's not very realistic. But
agreed.
I think as far as being a relevant framework for the foreseeable future, I think that's still very much in play for Angular.
How do you see the like JavaScript framework ecosystem? Like in your last video, you talked about 15 other frameworks, right? And there's just and like meta frameworks and all that stuff, and a framework for your framework, mitosis. That was a hilarious line you dropped, like the framework for your framework or something. How do you like? Yeah. What's your advice for a new web developer going into this? Kind of like you. Let's say like we go back in time. All these frameworks exist, and there's a Jeff who's like, I want to transition internally at my company. And then they transition into web dev, and there's like every option available. What's your advice to people entering web dev with this overwhelming like tech stack available to them?
I think it kind of depends on what your actual goals are. Like clearly, I think the safest bet is pretty much always going to be React, just because
always been on React.
The most popular, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So that's like gonna be the safest bet. That's where the most jobs are and things like that. But I mean, really, like, I think it just kind of comes down to trying out a few different things and like figure out which approach is most comfortable for you, and like really try to figure out what the trade-offs are between the frameworks. Like as someone who's used all these frameworks, I can, like, my decision is just like a freelance developer has been Svelte for the last few years, because for me that just offers the best developer experience. I like the way Svelte code is written and just like the way the project is structured and everything. And I just enjoy using the framework. And so for me, working independently, that was my choice. But if you have a team, or if your end goal is to get a job, I think you have to look at it a little differently. So.
Yeah. How do you handle people with the noise, right? Let's say you really like Angular, right? And let's say for all purposes. Angular does exactly what you need to do. It's good, whatever. But then there's all those noise of people saying like, oh, Angular is ass. Oh, why do you use Angular? Oh, Angular is this, that. You should use Svelte instead. Like, how would you kind of advise someone to like plug your ears, don't listen to that, and just kind of go and try things on your own and see what fits your needs?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that, people are shitting on these like free open source projects. Like it's just, it's like very tribal and just very, very dumb, really. Yeah. I don't know. Like the only advice I could give someone is to just really not care, because it doesn't matter. And ultimately you're trying to build a product for, some average person out there, like some person that knows nothing about code, and they are not going to care what JavaScript framework you used.
Yep.
So I'd really just like, try to drown out the noise and figure out which framework really solves the problem you have in the best possible way.
I think, so it's one thing when there's like kind of just a random person who I don't know says something, but I can zone out like, oh, whatever, dude, like go fuck yourself. Like I know what I'm doing here. But like, I think something I noticed as like tech creators, and like, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it, these tech influencers, like, when someone has like 100,000 followers and they say something, like that has way more weight than, average Joe who has like a much smaller following, who's not a tech creator, saying their opinion, right? And I think a lot of people are like influenced by these tech creators having these opinions, and they're like blindly following, like, oh wait, they said to use this. Okay. I'm going to drop everything I have and like kind of follow that. Like, I personally think that you always have to think for yourself first, even if no matter how much you enjoy someone's content, you have to understand at the end of the day, it's just a person making content. They have flaws. They're a person. They're human, right? But how do you tell someone to like take that separation, like enjoy someone's content, but all because, let's say, I don't know, Primeagen and me use like a Kinesis split keyboard doesn't necessarily mean everyone's to go buy a split keyboard now, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I personally hate split keyboards, but
that's war now, dude. I'm ending the stream.
But yeah, I kind of remind people about that a lot in my videos. Like there's one meme that I made that people share all the time that says, those who can't code become influencers. And I remind people that I'm just like some random dude in this room here, that you really shouldn't listen to my advice. But yeah, I think what's more important than recommending a framework is teaching people how to like, figure out what trade-offs are and like, yeah, stuff like that, I guess. But it is true, like influencers can definitely be destructive. Like they can ruin brands, like that humane pin recently that Marcus Brownlee destroyed. That was like a company that raised $200 million and is now basically destroyed because of one influencer. They're
trying to sell too. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. Yeah. They're trying to sell it for $1 billion now.
Yeah. Good luck, in my opinion.
But right. Yeah.
I do see your point. Like that's that's an extreme case where someone like MKBHD has such a humongous following that, and obviously like Humane Pin didn't pay him for review. They didn't ask him to do review, nothing like that. He's just making his content. And if you are in the wrong side of his review, there's going to be some serious drastic effects on your product, on your company, on your livelihood. So it's kind of a scary game when you think about how much power influencers can have on a product, on a framework. And one thing that you said, which was like kind of beautiful, it's like, why do people shit on these open source frameworks, right? Like they're not making millions of dollars. No one's getting like filthy rich off of them, right? So why shit on them for no reason? And yeah, like the same thing for influencers. Like why shit on something that's just fucking kind of innocent and just doing its thing?
I'm a bit of a hypocrite here though, because I made like the video React for the haters and stuff. So I've done a lot of shitting on React, and I make fun of React all the time.
Yeah.
That's not because I dislike React or anything. I do like React a lot, but it's I kind of, because it's such like the dominant leader, I feel like it's kind of fair game to criticize and get people to like look at different alternatives just to sort of, keep things mixed up, I guess.
Yep. That Jeff versus split keyboards is a new Kendrick versus Drake. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the whole world of tech is a very interesting one, especially I know you've dealt with this. People who get super personal and attached to like a programming language or a framework, like how you said you kind of like rip on React. I rip on Rust developers. I have nothing against Rust. I honestly, like, for the record, I have nothing against Rust. I think it's a lovely language. If it makes you productive and makes you ship code and write code, amazing, you know. But I like to make fun of the Rust community because they're so easy. Like, they get so upset. It's like you can say one small thing as a joke and they'll go up in arms, but like, what? Actually, that's not right. And you're just like, bro, okay, my bad. Like, I just randomly tweeted this. Like, I had put no thought into what I just said. Like, I woke up, I still had like eye boogers in my eye, and I tweeted something random, right? How do you kind of handle those people who are just like associate their like themselves to a language or to a piece of tech, like a framework?
Yeah, I mean, I see that all the time. It's just like the human nature to be tribal on a certain that you see it not just in tech, but like pretty much everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like I just ignore it. Like I don't know what else to really do, but that's definitely a thing.
I wonder why. Like I wonder why people get so like, my content. Like I'm very heavily like making Go. Like I write a lot of Go videos. I write like Go. I like Go, right? But like if someone says something bad about Go, I'm not just like, like gasp. You are offending me and like everything I stand by. Like I'm just like, yeah, cool. Valid point. Go has shitty enums. Yeah, I mean, yeah, cool. You're right.
Right.
I'm not gonna like, change my stance on it. Like nothing's perfect. I'm just like, yeah, it's a cool tool. I like it. Yeah, it's not good at this one particular aspect. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like when you invest a lot of time into working into something, you get kind of like a skewed perspective. Like you just kind of start to live in a bubble and not really see why other things outside that bubble are just as equally as valid.
100%. That's a good way to put it. Like the bubble. I think it's super. I called it like it's a tech bubble. I also called it like a tech vacuum and like a tech echo chamber. I think a lot of people in certain like groups within tech, like you get into it, and then it's like all you hear is the same opinion in this bubble in this vacuum. But there's like a whole plethora of like other information just like outside of that bubble, and it's available if you just reach out.
Right. And what's interesting is that people's opinions change too. Like like I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, like React like really couldn't do anything wrong. It was like the perfect framework. It just implemented hooks, and like hooks were going to change everything and be awesome. And then then I made that React for the haters video, and then like now since then people have started to like rightly criticize React shortcomings and stuff like that. And we have all these new frameworks like Svelte and Solid that kind of fix a lot of the issues. But
I think
things just kind of evolve, especially in tech over time.
For sure, all the time. And okay, so you're familiar with Vercel, right?
Yeah.
So Vercel, like when they first came out, like not first came out. Sorry, let me restate that. Early last year in 2023, they were like the hottest thing, and everything they were doing, everyone was praising. It was like they could do no wrong, similar to React like years ago, right? But now, like, and again, I don't personally think, and I'm not a Vercel hater. It's just like it's a company run by people, and people make mistakes. Like, like shit happens, right? Like it's fine. But I think for a lot of the time, Vercel could do everything. No one cared. But now you see like when they do something kind of wrong or when they did something incorrect, people are like, wait a second, that's not actually how we want to do it. Wait a second, that's bad. Or wait a second, there's a better way to do it. So like that opinion of changing is super, super like valid when it comes to tech and people's opinions within the tech community, I guess.
Yeah, Vercel's a really interesting case too, because when it was a Zeit before, it was like just 2 commands, like very, very simple. Like you could just deploy a website there, and Firebase kind of did the same thing. And I ultimately went the Firebase route, but they were actually very similar tools as far as web hosting goes. And then I think Vercel's become kind of so successful. They've raised so much money that they've gotten to like that point of being big enough to where people are starting to hate on them. And exactly. It also feels like they're trying too hard too with a lot of things. Like when they released Next App Router, it felt like they were really trying really hard to catch up with Remix that had released all of its stuff a few months before. So yeah, I think it's kind of natural for as the company gets bigger that people start to hate on it as it grows.
Yeah, more haters. It's just easier. Like they're the big dog, right? So obviously people are gonna come after you. Same thing with React. Once it gets too big, it's like, yeah, let's go hate on React for a little bit.
Yeah, I would think Vercel would go public like in the next year or two, and then after that point, then they can cash out and then not really care if they have any haters at all.
Yeah, then it's just GG, right?
Right.
um, I don't know how much time you got left. I know your schedule is busy. Like, let me know whenever you have to leave. Like, seriously, you don't have to give like a note. Be like, yo, I gotta go. But okay, cool. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Yeah, I should probably get going like 15 minutes or so.
Perfect.
But,
cool. Yeah, good heads up. There was another interesting thing that I really want to ask you, and this is selfish because I want to know the answer to this. You quit caffeine. I don't know if you're still off caffeine. That's something interesting. But I know 3 years ago, you quit caffeine, and you made a video here. I have it open on the Twitch, on the Jeff Delaney YouTube video, YouTube channel, and I found that video super interesting because you said a few things. One was like the morning ritual. Like you wake up and it's like the first thing you want to do is get a coffee. And it's kind of like, yes, you enjoy the coffee and yes, the caffeine addiction is healthy, but the ritual of it is very like, it's rewarding, I guess. And for me, it's the same thing. Like I wake up, I like to make my coffee. I like to brew it, etc. But I definitely think I am addicted to coffee because when I tried to quit, I felt with the similar symptoms as you. Like I got a massive migraine. Mine wasn't small. Mine was like, I was done. Like I couldn't move. Like I had to take an Advil or something to relieve it. And they're so gnarly. But I guess the question is like, one, are you still off caffeine? And two, can you talk to me a little bit about like that journey to quit it and those benefits that you stated in this video?
Yeah. So like when I made that video and probably for about a year or two after that, I was like hardcore, no caffeine whatsoever.
Yep.
I also didn't drink any alcohol during that period as well. So I was like just kind of abstaining from all that stuff.
Yeah.
Nowadays I do drink a little bit of caffeine here and there, and it's not like something I drink habitually, but I'm not like hardcore trying to avoid it or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I'll drink like, black tea on a pretty regular basis and stuff. But yeah, for me, it was, I guess like getting to that point, mostly just sort of like hit like this breakdown point where I knew I had to do something with, change something in my life with my health and just stuff like that, hit like major burnout.
Yep.
It's also just like having like random like anxiety attacks and things like that. And so I'm like, I need to make some changes, and like cutting out caffeine was really one of the most effective things to like get things going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you get past that withdrawal period, right? Like for me, because like on day 3, I need a cup of coffee or my migraines are like literally eating, like I have to be in bed in like a closed dark room. Like did you just power through it, like no matter how bad it is, and you're just like, fuck it, I know this is gonna help my anxiety and like I'm picking my battle here? Or did you just kind of like, take an Advil or like cheat a little bit and have a little bit of coffee when you quit cold turkey?
So I think I pretty much quit like completely cold turkey, and maybe had like some like tea and stuff in between. But for me, the headaches weren't that bad. It was like maybe just a couple of days of like moderate headaches. But then what left after that, it was just like, it was probably like at least a month, if not multiple months, of just feeling like unusually low. Like I just didn't have, motivation or energy to really do things at my normal level.
Yeah.
And what's weird is like just one day, like things like kind of just suddenly like rapidly got better, and I felt like I was back to normal. But it did take at least a month, if not more, to get to that point.
Wow. Yeah. And the alcohol thing. So last year I went completely off alcohol too, like all of 2023. I didn't drink a single sip of alcohol, like nothing, no beer, nothing. I felt great. And I only did it for a year just to like challenge myself. Like, can I actually go a year without alcohol? And I did it, so I know I can do it. Like, I know I have the will and determination. And then this year, like, I'm drinking on occasion, drinking with my friends, doing my thing. How did you feel? Or I guess maybe one question, like, are you still off alcohol? Are you still kind of gradually drinking like an occasional here and there? And when you did quit alcohol, how did you feel? Did you notice anything from your health perspective?
I mean, yeah. So I do drink alcohol on occasion too, not a ton, but yeah, I do drink on occasion. When I quit initially, I think like the main health benefit is like by quitting alcohol, it takes away the temptation to like get to the end of the day and just like and drink to relax.
Yeah.
Like so when I cut out alcohol, it was like whenever I got to that point, instead of drinking, I would typically exercise. So it was mostly just like a way to exercise a lot more for me as opposed to drinking.
Oh, really? So like at the end of the day, like when you would like quote unquote like I had a rough day or whatever, pour me a glass of like whiskey, you'd be like, okay, when I have that sentiment, I just want to go like exercise, go to the gym or something, go for a run.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool. So you like replaced it. You associated like and replaced the alcohol like dopamine effect with just exercising.
Right. Yeah, I think that like that's the main benefit. I really don't have anything against alcohol. I think if you drink it in moderation responsibly, it's totally fine. But,
Yeah.
for me, I think I kind of got in a habit of just like, just like drinking at the end of the day to relax. And by cutting that out, it was, now I have to exercise or find, something else to like really relax at the end of the day, I guess.
That's crazy. So now for relaxing, you have to go to the gym. Like someone just said in chat, like rough day, let me go PR my bench press. Like, is that kind of how you end up with like a relaxing day after a tough one?
Not usually. I usually exercise more proactively. Like that's definitely essential to like my mental health is exercising on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Here in Phoenix, it's so hot that if I want to go on a run, I have to wake up like first thing in the morning and go for a run.
Yep.
And then we have a pool so I can swim laps and stuff. But
oh, dude, I love swimming.
Yeah, but yeah, it's mostly just getting like some exercise at least, not necessarily every day, but on most days is enough to just feel good.
Dumb question. Are saunas like a big thing in Phoenix?
No, I wouldn't say they are. No,
because it's just so
saunas
naturally
people
hot.
have saunas, but
yeah,
right,
yeah,
it's not like in like Finland or something where everyone's got a sauna. It's nothing like that.
Gotcha. Like I love saunas. I don't have one like where I live, but there's a gym like a few blocks down where sometimes I go just for the sauna. Like on a Sunday, I haven't done it for a while, to be fair, but like for me, I noticed saunas are good for my mental health and they're good to make me feel really good after it, like almost immediately. So I would like sauna and then like do like a cold plunge, and I would feel like phenomenal, like top of the world type. Like my skin is like beaming, I feel better, my mood is uplifted. It's really strange, but the benefits have been like surreal.
Yeah, it's definitely true. There's a sauna at our gym, and use that every once in a while and feel great afterwards.
Yeah. Do you do like cold showers or cold plunges at all? Is that like integrated into your day? Because I know you're you wake up early in the morning. Do you like hit yourself with a cold shower, or are you just one of those guys that can get up and start doing stuff ASAP?
No, I just get up and start doing stuff ASAP. Nice. But in the wintertime here, the pool gets cold, like down into the 40s or 50s. So I'll jump in the pool when it's cold, which is the equivalent to the cold plunge, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, that always feels great getting out afterwards.
Cool. All right, I got one more kind of funny question. It's not funny. It's just again something I watched. Those like plaques you get like when you hit 100,000 subscribers and you got one for like 1 million. What I found really interesting was like in the Honeypot documentary, you only took those out because you knew they were coming in to do like this documentary of you. They're probably gonna record your bedroom, so like you hung them in like the back, right there. But before that, is it true they were just like in the box they came in?
Pretty much, yeah. Like we had moved like maybe 6 months before that, so there was kind of a reason for them to be in the box, but I never bothered to like take them out after that point. But yeah, I've got them up behind me, and they're still in that same spot.
So that fascinates me, man. Like, is it because like, I guess I don't want to come off rude, but is it because like you don't care about like the accolade of like the reward, like the trophy, quote unquote, or do you just like view like the actual growth of your channel more importantly than like a piece of metal?
I mean, the accolade's kind of fun to like work towards. Like it is nice to have a goal like that to work for, where you actually get something physical at the end of it. But once you get it, I mean, like the reality is you look at it for a few minutes and it's like cool, and then it's like then I don't have like people coming through my office on a regular basis, so it's like it's really only there for me to look at. So
that'd be funny, yeah. Cool, man. Oh, Okay, wait, sorry. I have to ask you one more. What is your advice for like content creators at any scale, like people who are big like yourself, or like the Primogen and the Theos, or people who in the middle, and people who maybe are just starting? Like, what would be kind of something you learned from your experiences doing content for so long, going from the highs and the lows? Like, what's like a golden rule that you found is really relevant, that, you know, if you were to tell Jeff who to just start something to help him out, what would you do?
Um, let's see. Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, like at the end of it, like the most important thing is just to have like something, you know, give your audience, no matter what type of content it is, something valuable.
Yeah.
For me, that's been like primarily something educational. When it comes to YouTube, like I don't know. I guess like the only two things I really think about are the initial click through, which is usually going to be dictated by your thumbnail and your title. So really kind of put a lot of thought into those two things. But once someone gets into a video, like my recommendation is to just like get right into like the most important stuff, and then, you know, really, I guess try to format your content in a way that keeps people's attention for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not really very interesting advice. It's like it's
no.
The main thing is just like, you know, get out there and like create stuff, and it takes a lot of time to really kind of find your style, and like, I don't know, find like a formula that really is unique and works for you.
Yeah. No, I think it's really good. Like, you basically saying cut the fluff, and like what we said, like the motto for your channel is like distill information in the most simplest, straight to the point way for a broad audience, right? I think a lot of people could hear that advice, because attention span is a luxury at this point, right? People, if they're bored of your video, they're gonna unclick it in a second. So you always have to keep them interested, keep them like, you know, thinking that the video is worth it. And if you kind of ramble on, you probably lose your audience pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for YouTube, it's really important to be authentic and like find something unique. You can't really just copy someone else's style and channel and like expect to be successful. So yeah, I mean, you'll see that with all like big YouTube channels. They have, you know, something kind of unique about them.
Yeah. Yep. Well, cool, man. I mean, that's it. That's all I got for questions, and for any kind of conversation that may have appeared. Thank you for taking the time to come in. I think from a stream perspective, we're going to go ahead and raid another channel. So like on Twitch, you can raid other people. So we're going to go ahead and raid MetaMe. But yeah, thank you, Fireship. If you guys, here's a link to his channel, but everyone knows Fireship here. But hey, I want to be polite. I want to be a gentleman. So there's Fireship's YouTube channel. And yeah, dude, again, thanks so much for hopping in and having this convo, because you said you don't do it often. So we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool.
It was fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it again in the future. Maybe not. Who knows? Who knows what the future will tell? Maybe we'll be racing on boats. But yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow or whenever. Peace.
See ya.